Hello and welcome to North Jersey Amnesty International's presentation of The Understanding by Rachel Rubin Ladutke. This play deals with questions of truth, memory, and justice in the aftermath of the dirty war in Argentina. We have chosen to premiere this reading on March 24th, the International Day for the Right to Truth concerning gross human rights violations and for the dignity of victims. The United Nations established March 24th as Right to Truth Day in honor of Salvadoran Archbishop Oscar Romero. Romero was assassinated on that date in 1980 for telling the truth about human rights violations in his country. March 24th is also the anniversary of the 1976 coup that signaled the beginning of the dirty war in Argentina. Up to 30,000 Argentinians were disappeared before the military junta fell in 1983. The date is commemorated in Argentina as a National Day of Remembrance for Truth and Justice. If you've not done so already, please consider making a donation to North Jersey Amnesty International using the Venmo account listed below. We established the group with our annual Right for Rights event in 2016. We are proud to have helped free transgender asylum seekers Alejandra and Kelly from ICE detention. Our group also continues to fight for truth and justice for slain environmental and indigenous rights activist Berta Cáceres of Honduras. Thank you and enjoy the show.
The Understanding by Rachel Rubin Ladutke. Setting, Buenos Aires, Argentina, December 1995. Act 1, Scene 1. Setting, the front room of the Cordoba's comfortable home in a fashionable neighborhood of Buenos Aires, Argentina. Upstage is the front entrance to the house. Beside the door is a picture window. Also in the room is a large, beautifully decorated Christmas tree. The only painting is a formal portrait of a beautiful woman in middle age. The furniture is tasteful, modern, and immaculate. A door to one side leads to Victor's study. A door on the other side leads to kitchen and Reina's room. A stairway leads up to the family's rooms. At rise, early afternoon, the room is empty. Through the window, which is open to catch a breeze, angry voices are heard, people yelling in Spanish and jeering.
Reina, for God's sake, would you shut that window?
Dr. Victor Cordoba strides into the room.
Damn it, she's not back yet?
The phone on the desk begins to ring. He grabs it.
See, what? I can't hear you. Damn it, hold on a minute.
He puts down the receiver, strides to the window, slams it shut and locks it. The jeers and yells grow fainter. He returns to the phone and picks it up.
Go ahead. See, this is Victor Cordoba. Who is this? I have no idea what you're talking about. How did you get this number? If you don't stop threatening me, you will live to regret it.
As he slams down the phone, the front door opens. Reina Reisman, his housekeeper, enters. She is in her early 60s and carries a small suitcase.
Buenas tardes, Dr. Cordoba.
Oh, Reina, I didn't hear you come in.
I'm sorry if I startled you.
It's no problem. I'm glad you're back. Did you enjoy Hanukkah with your family?
It was fine, gracias. I would wish you a Merry Christmas, but it doesn't seem appropriate under the circumstances. There seem to be even more protesters than when I left. Won't the police make them leave?
They say that as long as the crowd is peaceful and on public property, there's nothing they can do about it. I must admit, I didn't sleep well. They were very loud during the night.
You mean to say they have been here all this time?
I've been advised not to leave the house for my own safety. I tell you, Argentina is going straight to hell if a good man's name can be blackened by such rabble.
I'm so sorry about this, Doctor. It's a terrible situation. Do be careful, won't you?
See, of course I will.
Would you like a cold drink?
No, thank you. But perhaps we ought to go over the arrangements for Sophia's quinceañera.
I'll just put my bag in my room and I'll be right back.
Reina picks up her bag and exits to her room. Victor sits for a moment, but quickly rises again and begins pacing. He peers out the curtains at the crowds.
I suppose you think you've won trapping me in here like a dog. You have no idea what you're up against.
Dr. Cordoba, are you all right?
Of course. Gracias, Reina. Was there something else?
You wanted to discuss the arrangements.
See. Sophia's big night. The Mass is all arranged for 4 p.m. Father Quiroga is saying the blessing. The reception will start at 6 and dinner is at 7 sharp. We're expecting 60 apart from the girls and myself. Marcella already has the menu, correct?
See, and she's planning to do the marketing early that morning, so the vegetables will be fresh. She'll come here the minute she has what she needs.
Good idea. It's doubtful anything will hold up for long in this heat. I'm afraid it's going to be a devil of a summer if this past week is any indication.
It would seem so.
After dinner, the tables will be pushed aside for the young people to have their dancing. No doubt she would prefer a nightclub, but a father must have some influence, even at 15.
I'm sure they'll have a wonderful time right here at the house.
We did book her favorite DJ. It's all noise to me, of course, but there you are. We've also engaged some young people to rearrange the tables as needed and to help you in the kitchen.
I'm sure it will all go smoothly. Sophia's a lucky girl.
It occurred to me that Eva may be a bit envious of all the fuss we're making over her sister.
Oh, I don't think so. She never wanted a quinceañera.
Well, not at the time, but perhaps she regrets it now.
I doubt that. Eva has a more serious approach to life. She always has, even before your poor wife passed on.
That's certainly true. It's amazing how 2 sisters can be so different.
Doctor, if that's everything, I would like to unpack before dinner.
See, of course.
Papa, look! Just look! See what a lovely job they did with my party dress?
It's a bit low in front.
Come, Papa, don't be so old-fashioned. That's the style now.
So I've heard.
What do you think, Raina?
I think you are a vision.
But a vision of what exactly?
A vision of 15.
I can't argue with that. You do look lovely, Sophia.
Gracias, Papa. Oh, gracias for the dress and for the party. I can hardly wait.
Eva enters through the front door, a duffel bag slung over her shoulder.
Surely you can hold out for 2 more days. After all, you'll have loads of Christmas gifts open tomorrow morning.
Eva, you're here.
I thought you weren't coming till supper time.
I want to surprise you. Hello, Raina.
Welcome home.
Papa, what's all the commotion outside? I had to fight my way through to get into the house.
It's nothing really, only a mob of campesinos.
But what do they want?
They're just trying to make trouble. Radicals, Jews, those sorts of people.
Papa,
So you finished all your exams?
I took the last one yesterday afternoon.
How were they? Did anatomy give you any trouble? I remember you were concerned about it.
It was fine. If you don't mind, could we discuss it later?
Oh, very well. You'll join us for midnight mass tonight, of course.
I'd prefer to stay at home. I'm a bit tired.
But you must come. I'm expecting us to attend as a family.
Oh, do come, Ava, won't you? It would mean so much to Pa and me. They're going to announce my quince tonight, and I've got a solo in the chorale.
All right.
Very well, then. That's settled. It'll be just like when you were small. And now I have some matters to attend to. I'm sorry to leave you girls, but I'll be in my study if you need me.
He exits into his study, locking the door. Raina moves towards her room.
Raina, wait a moment. Can't you? I was just curious. Did I see you at the bus station in La Plata?
Let's see, it's quite possible. I just returned a short time ago.
I thought so. I called out to you, but perhaps you didn't hear me?
Oh, I'm sorry, Ava. I was rather preoccupied.
That's too bad. Perhaps we could have sat together. Is that where you go on your days off?
Often.
I don't mean to pry. Maybe sometime when you're down there, if I'm at school, you could come see my apartment. Would that be fun? I could cook something for you for a change.
That's very thoughtful, Ava. I often have commitments when I go to La Plata, but perhaps we could arrange something that sometime.
I'd like that.
Raina, could I have a lemonade?
Leave her be, Sophia. I'll fix you one.
Raina smiles at Ava gratefully and exits.
What did you ask her to your apartment for?
Why not? I like talking with her.
Well, you never asked me to come to dinner.
Maybe if you'd grow up a little, you could come and spend the weekend.
But I am grown up.
I know, you're at the height of maturity.
Por favor, Ava.
Why so eager to visit the university all of a sudden? You never showed any interest before.
For one thing, you get to take classes with boys.
So that's it. I should have known it had nothing to do with academics.
Just tell me, sí or no?
If Papa agrees, I suppose you could come and spend a weekend with me next term.
Oh, I would love that.
All right, happy birthday, little sister.
Gracias. I wish you'd been here sooner. You haven't helped plan the party at all.
It couldn't be helped, Sophia. I had exams.
You like my new dress? Papa had it made for the party.
It's lovely, truly.
Paula didn't have this big a party when she turned 15. She's gonna be absolutely green.
I thought she was your best friend.
She's all right.
Sophia, how long have those people been crowding around the house?
2 whole days now. They're always yelling all sorts of horrible things. Papa wants me to be cautious, so I have to come and go through the back entrance. And he gets so angry sometimes, I don't even recognize him.
He seems fine to me.
No, truly, he's quite furious at times. He gets phone calls at all hours. He locks himself in the study all evening after supper. I hardly see him. What do they want?
Well, I hear there have been a lot of demonstrations lately.
Demonstrations about what?
About what happened in the war?
You mean the Falklands?
No, the one here in 1970s. Aren't you still studying history?
Unfortunately, we have to take it till we graduate. I can't believe I've got 3 more years. Ugh. I wish I could just leave school early like you did.
I didn't leave school early, Sophia. I graduated early. There's a big difference.
I know. Anyway, what were you saying about the war? They've hardly told us anything about that. Just that there were some kind of protests and a few people got arrested.
Actually, it was thousands of people. And they weren't just arrested, they were kept in prison. Some of them for years. Lots of them were tortured horribly and then killed. Almost none of them were seen or heard from ever again. They were just gone. Desaparecidos. Disappeared.
Where did you hear that?
In my history class, they were doctors, teachers, lawyers, even students like us.
That's terrible, of course. But why are people protesting now, after all these years?
Because finally some of the people who were responsible are going to be brought to justice.
So what does that have to do with us?
I'm not sure. Perhaps nothing, but Papa was in the Navy for a long time.
Ava, surely you don't think Papa's done anything wrong?
Of course I don't, but those people outside don't know him the way we do. And many people who were in the military during the war are being brought to court now. Papa could have some information they want.
Like what?
I don't know. Maybe some details about what was going on back then.
Papa wouldn't hurt a soul, and I'm sure he's got nothing to hide.
I agree. Hopefully this will all get sorted out soon.
Oh, Ava, do you really think so? You don't think they'll ruin my party, do you?
How can you think about your party at a time like this? They probably don't know a thing about it, Sophia. You know, I do worry about you.
Me? Whatever for. I'm fine.
You need to spend more time thinking about what matters and less time running around.
I think about things all the time.
Like shopping.
That's not true. I do other things. I was on the school paper and I acted in 3 plays this year. Do you know, I think I want to study theater.
You don't need to study it. You know all about it. You need to learn about new things. You need to expand your mind.
You're the scholar, not me. When you're away at school, Papa's always boasting about you, his genius. When you told him you were following in his footsteps and going into pre-med, you'd have thought he was a peacock the way he strutted around here.
Really?
And you're the one he talks to, really talks to. We just don't have that much in common. I guess you just take after him.
It may seem that way, but it's not really possible after all.
Just because we're adopted doesn't mean you have nothing in common with Papa. Anyway, everyone knows you're the smart one.
Out with it, Sophia. Why all the compliments?
All right. I need your help with something.
What is it?
Promise first.
Absolutely not. How can I promise that without knowing what it is?
Don't you trust me? All right, then listen. After dinner tomorrow, I have a date. And I need you to cover for me. As soon as we finish eating, I'll say I'm tired and head up to take a nap.
There's no chance you'll get away with this.
Why? I'll only be gone a couple of hours. Just don't let them check my room, no matter what.
But who would take you for a date on Christmas Day? Where are they going? Will you be safe?
I'll be fine, I promise.
And you honestly think Raina won't find out about this?
Not if you cover for me. Por favor, Ava.
Well, I don't like it, you little schemer.
But you'll help me. You always do. Dios mío, look at the time. I've got to go change. I'll be late for my hair appointment.
But it looks fine.
My party is in 2 days, and I have to look perfect. Want to come?
No, gracias. I'm going to bring my things up to my room, and then I'll take a book out by the pool. I'll start some of the reading for next term.
You're going to study on summer break? Suit yourself. See you at supper then?
Ava picks up her bag and they go upstairs and exit. Victor enters from his study and crosses to the stairs. As he reaches them, the phone rings.
Damn it. Hola. See, of course I'm at home. Where else would I be? Frau, where have you been? You call yourself a defense lawyer. Just because my wife was your sister doesn't mean you can sit on your ass all day. What did Juarez say? What? Why not? To hell with procedures. These are extraordinary circumstances. Get him alone. Ask to see him in his chambers and... No, don't say a word to the press yet. We'll keep that on hold in case he differs. Tell that fool judge to wise up and keep me out of this. Threats? Who said anything about threats? You go in there, call him El Piranha, and see what he does. Just do it. And 2 more things. First, get my street cleared. I refuse to be kept a prisoner in my own home. I want every one of those protesters gone. Second, I want police protection. Si. Bueno. All right, come at 4. We can talk in my study.
He hangs up, heads to the stairs, and nearly collides with Ava coming down.
Oh,
Oh, Eva, I'm sorry, I didn't see you. Are you all right?
I'm fine, Papa. I was coming to find you. I wanted to talk.
So do I. In fact, I was about to call you down.
Maybe this isn't the best time. You look upset.
No, go ahead. I'm fine. Tell me about school.
It's been a rather difficult term.
The courses are getting harder.
See, of course, but...
Have you enough time to study? You've no need to keep working at that museum, Eva. I give you enough spending money, see?
Por supuesto, Papa, that's not the problem. Besides, I don't get paid there. I'm a volunteer.
All the more reason to tell them that you must stop. You need to focus on your studies.
That's what I'm trying to say.
Have you given any thought to what you want to specialize in? If you want to consider obstetrics, you could work with me a bit this summer, see how you like it.
Gracias, Papa.
I'm not trying to push you, of course, but I think you'd be wonderful with the women. And then there's always pediatrics. You enjoy children. I have a friend.
Pa, I don't want to be a doctor.
What did you say?
I want to change my major. I had to take the modern history class this term for a requirement, and I loved it. It was the best class I took all year. I want to leave the pre-med program.
Are you having problems with the courses? Is that what this is about? We could get you a tutor.
No. In fact, I tutor some of my classmates. My heart just isn't in it. I've tried. Truly, I have.
Perhaps you're finding it dull then. Eva, this was just your first year at university. I promise you, pre-med gets much more interesting after you've got through the basics, just like anything else.
Papa, please listen.
What would you do with a history degree? Do you really want to end up teaching a bunch of overprivileged brats for the next 40 years?
That's not the only use for it. Por favor, Papa, try to understand. This is important to me.
Surely you must have known that I would think this is a huge mistake.
It's not as if I'm dropping out. Why is it all well and good for Sophia to get average grades and study acting and come and go as she pleases, while I have to be the model child?
So that's what this is about. Envy, plain and simple. Envy and spite.
No, Papa, that's not what this is about. It's just that whatever I do, you never seem satisfied.
Listen, Nina, I am disappointed, of course. I don't agree with your decision, but I believe that you will succeed in whatever profession you choose.
You do?
You know how proud I am of you. I just want you to be happy in your life. And you have been happy, Eva, haven't you?
You know I have. Except when Mama got sick, of course.
Of course.
I was so angry when Mama died. I blamed everyone, even Sophia. I remember she started calling one of her dolls Matilda after Mama. And she wouldn't answer me unless I talked to Matilda too. It drove me crazy.
I never knew that. The funny thing is, I wanted to name Sophia after your mother, but Matilda never liked her name. So we chose Sophia after my favorite aunt. Do you remember her?
Maybe a little bit. She got me that dollhouse.
You see, that's right. She was always spoiling you girls with something or other. We had her for dinner nearly every Sunday, and she never came without gifts.
I wonder who I was named for.
No doubt for that whore who married El Presidente. Perón had no sense when it came to women, or anything else for that matter. But Eva Perón was some sort of heroine to the poor, because she was one of them, and it showed, I tell you. That woman was common to the day she died. It oozed out of her very pores. Yet they all worshipped her, as your parents must have done. Your mother and I never cared for the name Eva.
Really?
When we brought you home, we wanted to choose a different one for you, but you refused to answer to anything else.
I wonder where my birth parents are now.
They abandoned you, Eva. You owe them no allegiance.
No, Papa, that's not true. If not for them, Sophia and I wouldn't be here.
And if it weren't for me...
What is it, Papa?
Never mind. So your mind is made up about medical studies, then?
It is.
All your life, you've been telling me you want to be a doctor like me.
And I thought I did. Papa, you know how much I respect you, but I have to find my own way.
True enough. And I won't be around forever.
Papa, are you all right?
I'm going to be fine. I'm a winner, Eva. Winners have no fear.
Do you really believe that? I think that admitting your fear can make you stronger.
Spoken like a true idealist.
Mama taught me that.
Well, did she?
I wish she was still here. If I could change anything about my life, that would be it. But even if I can't change it, sometimes I can forget about it for a minute. Briefly, I am completely happy. And then the entire truth crashes back into my mind and it nearly crushes me.
Poetic.
Heartfelt, Papa.
You mustn't worry about the past. From time to time, it will haunt us, even threaten to break us. But we can't allow it to have such an effect. If we don't fight against those crushing, crashing emotions, it's all too simple to lose your hold on reality. You must try to forget.
But I don't want to forget.
Whatever path you choose, remember how fortunate you are to be continuing your studies.
See, Papa, of course.
The phone rings. Victor grabs it.
See? No comment. No comment! Stop calling me! All I'm saying is, whatever you choose to do with your life, Eva, make it matter.
I intend to. Gracias, Papa.
She turns and heads towards the kitchen.
Where are you going?
I want to talk to Reina for a little while.
You should keep your distance from the staff.
But why? I like spending time with her.
Think of her station in life, Eva. It's not appropriate.
Forgive me, Papa, but that makes no sense. You may think of her as just an employee, but as far as I'm concerned, she's part of the family.
He exits.
Eva!
He starts to follow her, but he changes his mind and stalks to the window. As they see him, the crowds grow louder.
Go on! Get out of here! Get off my property!
Lights fade. End scene 1. Act 1, scene 2. The living room later that day. The room is empty. Sophia bangs open the front door. As she enters, the jeering and yelling grows louder briefly. Then she slams the door, and it is muffled.
Oh, shut up!
She throws down her purse and heads for the stereo. She punches a button and music blares. Almost instantly, Victor bangs out of his study, followed by Raul and Eva, and they rush down the stairs. Victor and Eva are both complaining furiously, but it is difficult to hear them.
Sophia, we're trying to get some work done.
What's all the noise about? I'm trying to read.
What?
Turn that down!
But I'm listening to it, Papa.
Eva strides to the stereo and shuts it off.
That's better. Por favor, Sophia, I need to hear myself think.
He exits to the study.
Raul, I didn't know you were here.
Glad to see you, Eva. What are you looking so sour about? Come, Sophia, have pity on me. I have 3 sulky little girls at home, 4 if you count my wife, and only one, at most, one sensible boy child to side with me, though it's too soon to tell how he'll turn out. When I come into this house, it's sunshine and good spirits I want. You understand?
Sorry, Tio Raul. I'm just having a bad day.
How bad can it be? You have a big quinceañera coming up, the event of the season. You must be sure to save me a dance on Tuesday night. You'll be the toast of Buenos Aires just 48 hours hence. The society columnists will be pleading for an invitation.
Stop it.
Now that's better. Your tia Susana said to tell you she's looking forward to hearing your solo at Mass tonight. We'll be there for certain.
Raul, would you get back in here?
Sorry to be antisocial, but duty calls, or something. See you tonight.
Raul exits to the study. Victor shuts the door, hard.
What has gotten into you? I thought you were excited about tonight and about the party.
Leave me alone. I had a terrible time at the salon.
I didn't think you'd actually gone. Did you get your hair styled?
Of course not. Can't you tell it just looks the same? When I got there, it was very crowded. I had an appointment, so I wasn't concerned. I picked up a magazine, and before I knew it, half an hour had gone by, and I still hadn't been called. So I went to the desk to see what the delay was. There were a few other women sitting, waiting to be called. When I walked by, they whispered to each other, and they were staring at me. I asked them why. They said, "Ask your father."
Really?
The woman at the desk said she was terribly sorry, but she couldn't find my name down anywhere in the book. I've been going there for years. I started to argue with her, but the other women just laughed. Suddenly, I just felt so ashamed. I don't know why, but I couldn't stay another minute. I ran outside to get a taxi, but a policeman drove up and said he'd take me home.
You didn't get in, did you? That was really foolish, Sophia.
All right, it was. I just wasn't thinking clearly. And I thought I'd be safe with the policeman.
You should have called. I would have come to get you. Don't ever do that again.
I promise. But it turned out all right, Ava. He was kind. He brought me to the right door and told me to be careful. I only got scared after we were home. He said to give Papa a message.
What was it?
He said Papa should turn himself in before someone else gets hurt. Ava, I don't understand what's going on. Why are people so angry?
It's going to be all right, Sophia. Everything will work out.
A rock crushes through the window. They both instinctively shield their faces.
Papa! Papa!
Reina?
Victor and Raul rush out of the study. Reina likewise from the kitchen.
What's happened?
Are you all right?
I'm not hurt.
No! Dios mío, my arm is bleeding.
Let me see. It's not very deep. You'll be fine.
What's happening? Why are they doing this, Papa?
Victor's trying to move towards the window to inspect the damage, but Sophia's crying and hanging on him.
Reina, would you?
Come, Sophia, come to the kitchen and we'll clean up your arm.
Reina puts an arm firmly around Sophia and leads her off stage.
Are you sure you're all right?
I'm fine. I wasn't in front of the window when it happened.
It wasn't a bullet, was it?
Of course not. It was a rock. Look, Papa, there's a note on it.
Let me see that.
Asesino, tú eres culpable, debes confesar tus delitos. Confess your crimes. What are they talking about? Tú debes escuchar la voz de tu conciencia y pagar por lo que hiciste.
They dare to call me a murderer? They are the guilty ones. They attacked me in my own home.
Snatching the note from Eva.
Those bastards have gone too far. I will make them pay. I will crush them.
He crumples up the note and throws it to the ground, then picks up the phone and punches in a phone number. Meanwhile, Raul picks up the note and reads it.
It's hard to read, but maybe they can trace the handwriting.
Raul sets the note on the desk.
This is Dr. Victor Cordova. Those protesters out on my front walk have attacked my family. What have they done? They've thrown a rock through my picture window. My children were in the room. My daughter's arm was hurt. And there was a note with it too, a threatening note. What do you mean they have a right to be here? They've forfeited that right. I want them all arrested. And you'd better find out who did this. They'll wish they'd never heard my name. Get moving on this, Capitan, or you'll find yourself back on foot patrol.
Pa, are you all right?
Absolutely. Never better. Now I know my enemy. Get down to the police station and start filing charges. I want to be sure that every piece of human trash they pick up off my front lawn is kept in a cell as long as possible.
On my way. Remember what I told you, Victor, and stay calm. I'll call you later.
He exits.
Papa, what do they mean in the note? Why are they saying such terrible things about you?
Eva, sit down. I have to talk to you. I'm not sure how to begin.
What is it, Papa?
You may hear some disturbing things in the next few days. There could be trouble ahead.
What sort of trouble?
Rumors, lies are being spread about me, about my past. Some say...
They say you hurt people during the war, don't they?
Why do you say that?
I've read in the newspapers, but I didn't think...
Newspapers. The press has outlived its usefulness when it has nothing more to do than ruin the names of good, solid citizens. You and Sophia know me as well as anybody since your poor mother. You know what type of man I am. Would I ever hurt a soul?
I know you wouldn't hurt anyone, Papa. I only wonder where they got the idea that you had.
Ideas, ideas. The world is filled with ideas. People think too much. You must not be taken in by hearsay. One cannot try to analyze every little thing. I've never had that luxury. I was always too busy trying to survive. I have worked hard every minute of my life.
Of course you have.
But not everyone is as strong as I am, Eva. And when people are unable to lift themselves from their humble beginnings, they become ever more determined to put everyone else down to their level. But I won't let them. That's what sets me apart. I will not be dragged into the mud.
See, Papa, you look exhausted. Maybe you ought to lie down and rest a bit.
You hear to yourself. How can I possibly rest until my name has been cleared? These impudent, foolish scum want to ruin my life. If I show the slightest bit of weakness, I will have lost. They are positively drunk with power now. They smell blood. Everyone is at risk. I only hope they don't succeed in ruining the names and the reputations of every good man I know. But that's exactly what they seem to be dead set on doing.
But we won't let them, will we?
I knew I could count on you.
Papa, I just remembered something. Were you in any sort of trouble when we were younger?
What are you talking about?
I seem to recall something similar happened once before. I was 7 or 8, I think. Was that about the same thing? You had to go to court every day for seemed like a long time.
2 weeks. See, Eva, you're right. Back in 1985, I was interrogated at length and accused of unimaginable things. My name was cleared, but today I am being persecuted once more.
Mama tried to be strong, but she was terrified.
She never told me that. She never said a word against me.
How did you convince them of your innocence then? Perhaps it would work again?
But I should not have to convince anyone or try any sort of maneuvers as you suggest. I have done nothing wrong.
Por supuesto, Papa. I was only saying.
And yet, Eva, I am going to have to go to court next week.
Papa, are you? But why?
Raul tells me that I am being forced to testify again. I don't understand why they're being allowed to put me through this. I answered all of their questions 10 years ago.
I'm sorry, Papa. It makes no sense. Only I've been learning lately about what happened during the war, and to hear that you're being accused.
It will go no further, I assure you. I must know that I can rely on your support and discretion.
Of course you can.
Every day I thank God for my girls. If it weren't for you, I would have lost hope long ago.
He opens his arms, and she comes to hug him.
I'm glad you told me, Papa. Truly, it's better to know.
I only wanted to give you some idea of what all the commotion is about. You must not speak of it again, especially not in front of Sophia. There's no point in scaring her now, is there?
But, Papa, she's already scared.
There's no need to blow this out of proportion, Eva. I'm sure everything will be fine. A little time in court, a well-placed handshake. I still have many friends in the higher levels of government. And poof, this whole ugly incident will be over.
She needs reassurance, Papa. She's neither blind nor deaf. You really ought to explain this to her as well.
Your sister has nothing on her mind beyond her party. Let's keep it that way. I tell you, there is nothing to fear. Have I ever lied to you?
No, Papa, of course not.
Very well, then I expect you to believe me.
I do, Papa, but what could have happened in the war to make so many people angry with you now?
You're the history aficionado. You tell me.
Por favor, don't be sharp with me. I think I know the facts of what happened, but I want to know about you, what you were doing. Why did you give up your commission?
After we got you and Sophia, I decided to go into private practice.
But when you were in the Navy, did you know about the terrible things that were going on? Did you see anything or hear anything?
That's enough, Eva. Are you never content? You try so hard to seem mature, yet you are as much a child as Sophie. I can't begin to answer such questions. Whatever I may say, you wouldn't understand. You would never understand.
Why not give me a chance?
Sophia and Reina return from the kitchen.
Are you feeling better, Sophia?
Sí, Papa. Gracias.
Bueno, bueno. Now, I must see to the repairs and make some calls.
He exits.
Ava, what's happening? What did Papa say?
He called the police, and then Tia Raul went down to talk to them.
Thank God. I'm so glad things will start to get back to normal around here.
Do you really believe that? Don't you see this is only the beginning? This is serious, Sophia.
Eva,
She needs to face the truth. Did you tell Reina what happened at the salon?
Shut up, Ava.
what happened?
A little misunderstanding, that's all.
It was more than that.
It wasn't.
Sophia.
Ava.
If neither of you want to tell me, I have work to do.
I'm sorry, Reina. It's just this is between Ava and myself.
That's your decision, Sophia. You don't need me You don't need to tell me everything that's going on around here, but you would better reconsider going on that date tomorrow.
He exits.
You told her? You are such a...
I didn't say a word, truly.
Well, then how did she find out?
How should I know? But she has a point. I don't think you ought to go either.
But why not?
Use your head, Sophia. You've already run into trouble today, and now someone is throwing rocks at our house. Who knows what could happen next?
You don't really think there's going to be any more trouble, do you?
How do I know? But it seems foolish to be taking chances. Is he so wonderful as all that?
He is pretty cute.
He's coming to the party, isn't he?
Mm-hmm.
So you can talk to him then. Just stay home tomorrow and be safe. Promise me?
Mind your own business.
I'm your older sister. If you're going to put yourself in danger, it is my business.
You're scaring me.
I'm glad.
Sophia sees the note on the desk and picks it up.
What's this?
Oh, it's nothing, Sophia. Let me have it.
She reaches out her hand, but Sophia has already opened the note and read it.
Ava, this is... Have you read this?
See, I have.
Did Papa read it too?
Of course.
What did he say?
About the note?
Of course about the note.
He said he's going to set everything straight.
I don't understand. What is there to set straight?
I'm not sure what's going on, but you can bet I'm going to find out.
What are you going to do?
Whatever's going on, Papa can't or won't talk about it, so we'll have to ask someone else. You know, maybe Tio Raul can help. He's been Papa's attorney for a long time.
A very long time?
He handled our adoptions. You didn't know that?
I suppose I never thought about it. What makes you so sure he'll tell you anything?
I'm not sure, but I have to start somewhere.
But why do you have to? When Papa wants us to know what's going on, he'll tell us.
Spoken like his true little angel.
Shut up.
Victor enters from the study.
What are you arguing about now?
Nothing.
What's happening, Papa? Did you talk to the police? Are they coming?
Si, Nina, they're coming to clear the streets. You can hear the sirens. Everything will be fine now.
Truly, Papa?
Si, of course. Eva, did I leave that piece of paper out here?
I'm not sure, Papa. I don't think so.
We must find it. Sophia, did you see a crumpled piece of paper? It had some crude writing on it.
I'm sorry, Papa. I didn't see it.
Perhaps Tio Raul took it to show the police?
That must be it, of course. Good thinking on his part. It could be useful evidence.
Sophia is at the window. There are jeers and catcalls as the police move in.
The police are here. That's right. Go away. Leave us alone.
Sophia, have you lost your mind? Get away from that window.
They have no right to mock you like that and to destroy our property.
And you're trying to protect me, I suppose. The height of irony. You can't protect me, Sophia. Perhaps nobody can. It may prove to be far too late for that.
Pop.
I'm sorry, girls. You must excuse me. I'm not myself today. I think I will go and rest a bit, as you suggested, Eva. Hopefully, now we'll have a nice, peaceful Christmas.
He exits into his study.
Why didn't you tell him I had the note?
Why did you pretend you hadn't seen it?
I was trying to help, okay? I figured you had your reasons, but it would be nice if you let me in on them. Besides, I didn't think he'd want me to read it. It's terrible, Ava.
I wish the note were his biggest worry. I haven't seen him this upset since Mama died.
See, so hadn't you better leave him alone?
Listen, there are people who think Papa has done some awful things and now they want revenge. I don't believe them. I don't want to believe them, but I need to know the truth.
What about what Papa needs? We've got to support him. Por favor, Eva, don't talk to Tio Raul. Promise me.
I can't promise that. I'm sorry.
I hate you. You're going to ruin everything.
She runs upstairs and slams her door. Lights fade. End scene 2. Act 1, scene 3. The room is empty. Thick curtains have been drawn across the window. Victor's private phone on the desk begins to ring. Reina emerges from her room and moves to the phone in the living room. The desk phone rings again. Reina walks to the portrait of Mathilde over the fireplace and stands looking at it for a minute.
Oh, Mathilde, things are getting unpleasant here. I'm almost glad you're not here to see this. I don't really mean that, of course. We all miss you terribly. Dr. Cordoba, perhaps most of all. But I owe you a great debt. If not for you, it's likely I wouldn't be here at all.
Eva, Sophia, and Victor come through the front door arguing.
But Papa, you didn't tell me what you thought about my solo.
I said you sounded lovely. I said that.
Who cares about your solo, Sophia? It's obvious that there's something wrong, Papa. Aren't you going to tell us about it so we can help?
Eva, I'm telling you, it's nothing. Leave me in peace. Sophia, you sounded superb as always.
But Papa, you're not...
Girl, quiet down.
Gracias, Reina.
Doctor, you had a call. It came in on your private line just a few minutes ago.
But who would call here at 1:30 in the morning?
Sure, it's nothing. Probably a wrong number. Why don't you girls go up to bed? We have presents to open in the morning, you know.
All right.
Buenas noches, Papa. I'm exhausted all of a sudden.
Buenas noches.
Victor waits until they exit. The girls go upstairs and Reina to her room. He lifts the phone, dials, and plays a brief message. He mutters a note. As he hangs up, there's a quiet knock at the door. He freezes, then looks out the peephole.
It's just me. Open up.
Victor unbolts the door and Raul skulks in.
What are you doing here?
I had to find out what the hell just happened at Mass. Why did you leave so quickly? You looked as if you'd seen a ghost.
Take a look at this. It's a copy of that signed confession the court has.
Where did you get it? How?
Someone slipped this into my hymnal tonight. I'm not sure who, though I have an idea. It's worse than we thought. It implicates me in some damning stuff. Very damning, Raul.
Other people have confessed in the past. What makes this any different?
It's different, I tell you. This man served with me every day for 5 years. This is big. If he's really talking, he must have cut a deal.
I can't have this conversation right now. Everyone's waiting in the car. I got more grief than you would believe just for stopping over here.
Take this and read it. We need a strategy. We have to meet tomorrow.
Tomorrow? But it's Christmas Day, Victor.
I realize that.
We have an appointment on Tuesday, first thing. So you'll be back in plenty of time to get ready for the festivities.
I tell you, it can't wait another day.
Leave everything to me. I got you out of trouble last time, didn't I? There's nothing to worry about.
Is that so? Someone called just before we got home. Listen to this.
He picks up the phone and dials again. He clicks on the speaker's phone.
Cordoba, I see you got the documents I left for you tonight. You should also know that those papers will be front-page news the day after tomorrow. Do what you will with that information. Feliz Navidad. Doctor.
Victor hangs up and turns to Raul.
The press will be all over me when this comes out. We have 1 day to come up with a plan.
What do I tell Susanna and the kids? I can't just get up and walk out on Christmas morning.
I don't give a damn what you tell them. Por favor, Raul. I need your help.
Be at my office at 11.
11 o'clock, sharp. Raul, muchas gracias.
Raul exits. Victor bolts the door and turns out all the lights except the tree. He heads for the stairs, but stops in front of the portrait of Mathilde.
I don't mind admitting, querida, that I'm not sure what will become of us. But I swear to you, I am doing my damnedest to fix this. You know that, don't you?
Reina enters, carrying a small tray which holds a glass of water, a photo, and a lit candle.
Oh, Dr. Cordova, excuse me. I thought you had gone up to bed.
Reina, you are welcome to sit here if you wish. I am going up now.
Gracias, doctor. Buenas noches.
Victor exits upstairs. A door closes. Reina sets down the tray and sits. A moment. Eva creeps down the stairs. Reina does not acknowledge her.
Reina, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I can't sleep. Can I sit with you?
Of course.
Eva curls up on the sofa, looking at her closely.
Gracias.
Some nights I can't drop off either. Tonight is one of them. Would you like some mate?
I'm not actually thirsty.
Are you hungry?
No, gracias. Can we just be here? It's so nice and peaceful.
All right.
I've missed our late night talks, Reina.
So have I.
What is the candle for?
What?
It's not for Hanukkah, is it? It looks different.
No, that's over for this year. This is a yahrzeit, a memorial candle.
Oh, is it for your husband?
My daughter.
You have a daughter?
I did. And a son.
I never knew that.
When we light the candle, we say the Kaddish, a special prayer.
It's in Hebrew.
See, that's right.
I never knew you spoke Hebrew.
Sometimes we say the 23rd Psalm. You know, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want.
He maketh me to lie down in green pastures.
This candle will burn for 24 hours.
That's lovely. We light candles for loved ones too. I just lit one for Mama at Mass.
Eva, is something troubling you?
I don't know who else to talk to. I can't take much more of this. Papa is starting to frighten me. He told me today he has to testify in court, but he doesn't want Sophia to know for some reason. And then just now at Mass, he acted so strange. He's usually the last one to leave because he stays around to talk with his friends. But tonight, he practically dragged us both out of the chapel the minute Sophia finished singing. He didn't seem to want us to say a word to anyone, but he wouldn't tell us why. You've been here a long time. Do you have any idea what's going on?
I don't know any more than you, Evelita.
Did you see the note wrapped around the rock?
Only that there was one.
Eva takes the note from her pocket and hands it to Reina, who reads it quickly and then hands it back.
What do you make of that, Reina? Could they be right? Could he really have hurt people?
I suppose anything is possible, but I have no reason to believe that. What do you think?
I don't know what to think any longer. He seems so angry and tense. Do you think Mama believed Papa was hiding something?
Why would you ask such a thing?
Sometimes before she died, she seemed almost afraid of him. No, not afraid exactly, but she was sad and very quiet.
That's certainly to be expected when someone is so ill.
Of course, but she didn't act that way when we were around.
I suppose she was trying to be strong for you.
Do you think she knew she was going to die?
Sophia, coming down the stairs, stops to listen.
At some point, of course she did.
But she would never talk about it. Not with me. I tried to get her to many times.
You were barely 12, Eva. Still a child. A mother would do anything to spare her child pain.
Eva catches Sophia out of the corner of her eye.
Sophia!
Oh, I'm glad you're still up, both of you. Why is it so dark in here?
Keep your voice down. We don't want to disturb Papa.
Of course not. I only wanted to let you know that I'm not keeping my date tomorrow after all.
I'm happy to hear that.
It's not that I'm scared or anything. I just decided, well, he's not that interesting.
I understand.
Well, I'm glad you've come to your senses, whatever the reason is.
Don't be such an old lady, Ava. You have no idea how to have fun.
I have plenty of fun, and I know how to enjoy myself without risking my neck to do it.
I don't risk my neck. You don't know what I do.
Whatever you say, Sophia. Now, can you just leave us in peace?
Maybe I'm not tired.
You just said you were exhausted.
Girls,
You're not missing anything, Sophia. I swear, we're only talking.
All right, all right. Buenas noches.
He goes up the stairs. Ava waits till she hears Sophia's door click shut.
that was a wise decision she made.
I guess she's growing up.
She's stubborn, that one. She reminds me of my son at that age.
Does your son live in La Plata?
Oh no, both my children have died.
Dios mío, what happened?
Desaparecidos.
And your husband?
Some people don't believe this is possible, but I'm sure he died of grief.
Oh, Reina, I'm so sorry. I never knew.
Of course not, Nina. How could you?
I could have asked. I should have asked. Can you tell me about your family? Or would it make you too sad?
Not altogether, no. It's been a long time. In some ways, it feels good to talk about it. It helps me remember. There are parts I don't want to forget, and I'm afraid I might.
Perhaps if you tell me about them, then I can remember with you.
I don't know if that's the best idea, Ava. You have enough going on in your own life right now. Why would you want to take on an old woman's burdens?
Why not? You've certainly helped us bear ours all these years. I don't know what we would have done without you after Mama.
You've helped me as well. It's meant a great deal to me, the chance to watch you girls grow up.
Do you have any grandchildren?
2.
I don't suppose you get to see them very much. Is that who you go to visit on your days off?
No,
Are they your daughter's children or your son's?
my daughters.
They must have been very young when she died.
See, they were.
But then who looked after them? Are they with their father?
No, he disappeared several months earlier. Ava, why do you want to hear about all this?
Because I care about you, Reina. What happened to your children?
My son had the most caring, sensitive soul I've ever known. I actually saw him give his school lunch to beggars on the street. He used to go down to the barrio on Sunday and try to help the other children he met there, especially the ones around his age. He would take all the food he could carry and give it away. I learned to do my marketing after he left for the day.
He sounds wonderful.
He wrote an article about the junta for his school newspaper. I suppose that was what got his name on the list.
The list?
Sometimes people were just taken randomly. More often they were chosen.
Why?
Oh, it could be anything, Ava. Writing an article, running for office, making the wrong enemies, or the wrong friends. Being Jewish certainly didn't help. Almost every family in our synagogue lost someone by the time it was over.
What did you do when he was taken?
I was in shock for 2 days. Then all of a sudden, nothing could stop me. I went to the police, the courts, every military base I knew about. I heard they were holding people at military bases. Everywhere I went, nobody would tell me anything. They only said, "We don't have him, Senora. Go home. We'll call you if we hear anything." Fool that I was, I believed them. And so I waited. I kept going back and hearing the same things. And then I'd go home and wait. I realized I was naive, but it was very early on, and nobody really knew the extent of what was happening.
Really?
Nobody was talking to anybody. When the word got out that someone in our family had been taken, the neighbors turned their backs on us. People thought if your child was taken, if your parents were questioned, if your house was being watched, you must have done something wrong. And so, just when we most needed support and solidarity, we were left alone.
I had no idea.
The fear, Ava. Such fear you can't imagine. People wouldn't talk to me on the phone or even smile at me in the streets. That makes people ugly, that much fear.
I can imagine. Did you ever find out what happened to your son?
No, we didn't. When the disappearances started, some of the people who had been kidnapped were sedated and pushed out of planes over the sea. My son could have been one of them. It would have explained why his body was never found. But it's more and more likely I'll never know.
How terrible.
How can someone be on this earth for 17 years and leave no sign that he ever existed? How can they do that? For years I wondered if he weren't so special, if he hadn't called such attention to himself. But then they took my daughter as well. And Carlotta was just an ordinary girl with a husband and baby.
When did they take her?
3 years after my son. She was attending the university at La Plata, like you. She was planning to teach mathematics. Her husband, Jorge, was in medical school there.
Like me. Like I was. But now I'm going to major in history.
I taught history.
That's right. I'd forgotten that. So why are you working for us now?
I wanted a change.
I wish you could get Sophia interested in the past. She thinks nothing important happened before she was born.
Many young people think that way.
I know, but not me. Tell me more about Carlotta, won't you?
She was 24. A more devoted mother I've never seen, and so patient. She sang her baby to sleep every night, even if it took an hour.
What happened to them?
Jorge was taken in the winter of 1980. They had one child and she was expecting again. She nearly miscarried after Jorge left. She was in the hospital for a month, and then she and her child came to live with us. Carlotta planned to deliver the baby at our home in the bed where she and my son were born, but the men came back and took her and her child as well.
Oh, Reina.
It was years before we could even be sure whether she had delivered the baby.
But she did?
After her remains were found, I was able to make contact with a woman who had shared her cell. She heard that Carlotta delivered a baby but died shortly afterward. The children were adopted.
Like us.
Perhaps we've talked enough for one night. We have a long few days ahead of us.
No, wait, Reina. Is that a picture of your daughter?
See, that's right. It's Carlotta with Jorge and their little girl. I took it myself.
Ava picks it up and examines it. Reina watches her, unable to look away.
Have I seen this picture before? It looks so familiar for some reason.
I don't think so, but maybe in my room sometime.
Maybe.
Ava, we both need to get some rest. It's very late.
That lullaby you were humming. Do you remember the words?
I'm not sure. Why?
Por favor, Reina.
My pretty little dolly made out of coffee grain. Just
Just
ask
ask me
for
for
my life. You won't have to ask again.
again.
I'll take
I'll
you
take
for
you for a
a
slice
slice
of
of moon
moon
out of
out
the
of the
sky.
sky.
I don't remember anymore.
We'll fill our hearts with light together, you and I.
You have a lovely voice. You should sing more often. Did you and Sophia sing with your mother when you were small?
Mama didn't sing to us. She couldn't carry a tune. Raina, do you suppose my mother sang that to me? I mean, my natural mother? I don't know how I would know it otherwise.
She might have.
It's so familiar. I can almost remember.
Remember?
The smell of Frisias.
What?
The woman who sang that to me. She smelled like Frisias.
Carlotta always wore that scent. She said it reminded her of the garden we had when she was growing up.
Ava stares at the photo for a long moment. She turns to Raina. She's shaking.
The little girl in the picture. It's me. It's me, isn't it?
Ava.
I don't. This can't. Raina, is this my mother? Are you my grandmother?
Sí, Eva. Soy tu abuela. I am your grandmother.
Curtain. End Act 1. Act 2. Setting, the front room. Noon the next day. The gifts have been opened and put away. At Rise, Ava has just finished clearing up the wrapping paper. Raina enters.
It's all cleared away now.
Gracias, Evelita.
Has Papa gone already?
Quite a while ago. Ooh.
We must have been talking till 4 a.m. Are you very tired?
Oh, I'll be all right.
They embrace a moment. Raina strokes Ava's hair.
That feels good. So comforting.
It is. I've wanted to do that for such a long time.
Abuela, did you hold me often when I was a baby?
What do you think? I changed your first diaper. You and your parents lived with us till you were 2, while your father was finishing medical school.
So they got married while they were still in school? Why did they do it so young?
Oh, that was because of you.
Oh.
I don't want you to get the wrong idea, Ava. They were young, it's true, but I've no doubt in my mind they were meant to be together. They would have married even if you weren't on the way.
Were you disappointed in her?
Honestly, Ava, just because I'm from the provinces doesn't mean I'm provincial.
But if it weren't for me...
If it weren't for you, their lives would have been much less complicated and much less joyful. Oh, how proud they were of you. From the day you were born, they couldn't take their eyes off you.
Really?
You were their dream, Nieta. If only they could have had the chance to see you grow up.
I wish I could remember them.
It breaks my heart when I let myself think of what you've lost, what we've all lost.
Were my parents involved in protests or anything like that? Was I really named for Ava Perón?
Oh, no, not at all. My son, Avo, he was the one who wanted to change the world.
So that's who I was named for.
Carlotta insisted on naming you after him. My husband, Daniel, and I were devastated about that because it was like admitting he wasn't coming back. Jewish people use namesakes to honor their dead. It's considered bad luck to name someone after a living person.
Raina, what happened to my parents? Can you tell me about it? Can you just try?
Jorge was taken first. We were all up here for a party. It was, oh, your third birthday. I'd nearly forgotten that.
No, go on. Por favor.
Well, it was getting late. You fell asleep on the floor. We were planning to leave, and Carlotta and Jorge pulled us aside and told us some wonderful news. They were expecting another child.
Sophia.
We were all so excited. We were laughing and hugging. And suddenly 3 men kicked the door in. They had guns, and they made us all sit on the floor and start shouting and asking questions. We were all terrified. I couldn't even understand what they were saying. They grabbed Jorge and 2 of his friends. Jorge told Carlotta not to worry, he would be fine. And the soldiers, whoever they were, said he'd be home next day. They pushed him out at gunpoint.
What did my mother do?
Carlotta started to scream and wail. You woke up crying, where's Papa? I want my Papa. And from that moment on, you wouldn't let your mother out of your sight for a moment.
I must have been so confused. I don't remember.
Jorge loved to play games and pull practical jokes. So when you couldn't find him, you refused to believe he was gone. You insisted he was just playing hide and seek. Carlotta couldn't bear staying up here without him, so you both came back to La Plata to live with us. You asked for Jorge every day, right up until you and Carlotta were taken. We told you what we wanted to make ourselves believe, that he'd be home soon. Of course, none of us really thought so, but we heard a few stories of people who were released after their families had given up hope, so.
But then what happened to my mother? Did they come back for her?
We always worried they might return. They found out where she was staying and they came and took her away, and they took you too.
But what did they want with me? I was just a little kid. I'm sorry. This is very hard for you. We can stop.
We were home, Carlotta, you and I. The men knocked this time. They even seemed polite. They said Carlotta was named as a gorilla. She was almost 8 months pregnant. And then they said they'd take her to see Jorge and gave her 10 minutes to pack.
I don't remember anything about this.
That is a blessing.
It's frustrating. It's as if I had this whole other life and it's gone forever. I never even knew.
For years, I kept looking for all of you. It consumed me. Daniel finally told me it had to stop. I screamed at him. I said he was giving up on his family, but I never would. He grabbed my arm and told me I had to accept that I would never find you, any of you. They're all gone, he said. It's just us now. That's not enough, I told him. We stopped talking except when we had to. I let anger take over my life. It was the only way I knew how to survive. But he couldn't live that way. He died less than a month after that argument. He went out to the garden and he didn't come in for dinner. I called him twice, and then I went out and found him on the ground.
Oh, Reina.
I couldn't forgive him, and I couldn't save you. In the end, I failed everyone I love.
But it wasn't your fault. None of it. If you tried to stop them, they would have hurt you, or worse, taken you too. What good would that have done?
I know now you're right. But at the time, I couldn't help but wish I'd done things differently. There was a physical toll and an emotional one. Daniel was the best man I ever knew. We had a good marriage for almost 30 years. The war destroyed that too.
Was my grandfather a teacher like you?
Oh no, my Daniel built things, houses and barns mostly, but what he did best was furniture. He was an artist with the wood. He built the dining room table we ate on all our lives, and the bed where our children were born. You were born in it as well, and Sophia would have been.
Where is it now?
Home in La Plata.
You still have a home there?
I have a house there. No one lives in it any longer.
It's empty?
Not for me. It's filled with ghosts and memories and the furniture Daniel built for us.
I'd like to go there with you. I want to see it. Can we, Reina?
There isn't much to see.
But it's your home.
It was. Now, wherever you and Sophia are is my home. You are the only family I've got left.
Still, maybe I'll remember more if we go. I was born there after all. It must have been so hard to keep a secret like that all these years.
Of course. But when I found you, I was so relieved you were safe and loved and well cared for. And I could be with you. That was enough. I promised myself I'd never tell you who I was.
Did you ever tell anyone? Did Mama know who you were?
As far as I know, she had no idea. But we grew very close during her illness, and she made your father promise to keep me on. She trusted me to look after you and Sophia.
I know. The last time she spoke with me, she told me to be sure and mind you. That's when I finally believed she was dying. She never said anything like that before, but I didn't want to mind anybody. I was so angry with her for leaving us.
I saw that in you. So did your mother. Just before she died, she gave me a gift for each of you. She asked me to keep them for you until you were grown.
Did she really?
I've often wondered if that was her way of making sure I would stay. Of course, she had nothing to worry about as far as I was concerned. I think this might be a good time for you to open them.
Oh, see, Reina, see, I'll go call Sophia. Just imagine getting something Mama left us and finding our abuela all in one day. Oh, I can't wait to see her face.
Wait, Eva. I don't think we should tell her who I am, not just yet.
Why not?
Well, she's so confused and upset with everything going on. This might only upset her more.
What makes you think she'll be upset about this? I think she'll be glad to know the truth.
Just because you feel that way doesn't mean she will.
See, that's true, but if she finds out later that we kept this from her, she'll be furious. Besides, don't you want this all to be out in the open finally?
It doesn't matter what I want. Maybe she isn't ready for this. She's not strong like you, Eva.
Why does everyone treat her like one of her dolls? I'm telling you, she can handle this. She was only 8 when Mama died, and she got through that. And after all, this is good news, isn't it?
Of course, but...
There is a loud banging on the front door.
Who could that be?
Reina opens the front door. The word asesino is written in red on the door.
Eva!
Look, there's someone running away. Is that blood?
Looks like it.
Dios mío, who would do such a thing?
Reina picks something up off the step.
There's a note addressed to your father.
She puts it in her pocket.
We'd better make sure Sophia doesn't see it, whatever it says.
She closes the door and locks it.
What are we going to do?
I'll clean off the door. You call the police.
Reina exits to the kitchen as Eva dials.
Hola, this is Eva Cordoba. My father is Dr. Victor Cordoba of Recoleta. We need help right away. There were protesters here all weekend, and now a man just vandalized our house. Hero asesino on the door, in blood. No, of course I'm not joking. How soon can you come? And should we... What do you say? Why not? But... Maldigal.
Eva slams down the phone as Reina enters with a pail of water and some rags.
How soon are they coming?
He opens the door and begins to scrub at the writing.
They're not coming. They said there's nothing they can do about it, and anyway, nobody was hurt. They told me to keep the door locked and not to worry.
I see.
Reina, I can't believe this is happening.
I wish I could say the same thing. But don't worry, Eva. We'll be all right.
What if he comes back?
The way he ran off, he wouldn't dare. The important thing right now is to get rid of this before your father sees it, or Sophia.
Dios mío, we can't let her know anything about this.
I don't intend to.
And Reina, maybe you're right. I don't think we should tell Sophia who you are just yet.
I'm glad we agree. And of course we can tell her once things have settled down, Ava. But there's too much going on right now. I don't want her to get hurt.
Of course not. Neither do I.
Reina stops scrubbing and steps back to examine the door.
Not perfect, but much better. At least you can't really tell what it said.
Reina picks up the cleaning supplies and exits to the kitchen. As Ava locks the door, Sophia slams out of her room, holding a beautifully dressed baby doll.
Where's Papa?
He had to go out for a little while.
But why? When is he coming back? Where did he go?
How should I know? Maybe someone went into labor.
Reina enters.
Reina, when will Papa be back? I need to talk with him.
I'm not sure, Sophia. Is there something I can help with?
I don't think so.
Why are you carrying that old doll?
She's my favorite. When Papa gave her to me, he said I'd look just like her when I was a baby.
But you only carry it around when something is bothering you. What's wrong?
She'll think it's silly.
I won't. I promise. Come and talk.
Sophia and Eva sit on the sofa. Sophia continues, holding the doll.
I lied last night
About what?
about my date today. I didn't change my mind. He did. He came up to the choir during Mass last night. He said his parents won't let him see me. He can't come to the party either.
I'm sorry. I know you liked him, but
That's not all. I've been calling my friends today to find out what they got for Christmas and talk about the party, but nobody wants to come to the phone. If they do, they act all weird and hang up right away. And 3 more people already said that they can't come to my party tomorrow night.
did they say why?
They all said pretty much the same thing. The parents don't want them to associate with me.
They said that?
They're not allowed to have anything to do with our family. And if they don't come, nobody will. My party's ruined.
We don't know that.
Sophia, please try to calm down. You're a young woman now, not a child. I know you've been very excited about your quince, and of course you're disappointed and angry at the way your friends are treating you.
They're my best friends, Reina. At least I thought they were.
I understand. And I also know you're strong enough to get through this, and I have something that might help you do that.
What is it?
It's a surprise. I'll be back in a moment.
She exits her room.
Eva, I don't understand what's happening, and I don't like that feeling.
Nobody does. Sophia, I don't want you to worry all the time, but you can't bury your head in the sand either and pretend it's all going to be fine. That's dangerous.
It seems like everything feels dangerous lately.
I know.
Reina enters, carrying 2 small wrapped presents.
It took me a minute to remember where I put them.
She hands one to each of the girls.
Ava and Sophia.
I don't understand. This is Ma's handwriting.
Your mother wanted you to have these when you would be able to appreciate them. I'd say you're old enough now, wouldn't you?
Does Papa know about this?
I have no idea. It's never come up between us.
Handwriting was so shaky.
She insisted on wrapping them herself. I'll go check on dinner.
She exits to the kitchen. They carefully open the gifts. Each contains a book.
Shakespeare. We were reading these in school when she got sick. She used to sit with me every night and help me figure out what on earth they were talking about.
Look at mine. It's those folk tales she used to read to us when we were little. Remember, Ava?
Of course I do. Can I see it just for a minute?
All right.
Sophia hands the book to Eva. They smile as they look through it together.
This was your favorite story.
I made her read it 3 times every night.
Then you started reading it yourself. Nobody could believe it. They thought you'd simply memorize the words, but you hadn't. You were really reading.
How old was I?
Not even 4.
I think I remember that.
Every day when I came home from primary school, I taught you all the letters. I couldn't stand knowing something unless you knew it too.
Eva returns the book to Sophia, who leafs through it.
What's this?
She holds up a small envelope addressed in the same shaky handwriting.
To my daughters. A letter from Mama?
Is there one in your book too?
Eva pages through her book and shakes her head negatively.
No, just that one, it seems. Should we open it?
Sophia has already carefully started to do so.
Why not? It's ours, isn't it?
Of course, it just seems strange, almost like hearing the voice of a ghost.
It does. 22nd of August, 1989. My darling girls. That's not long before she died, is it?
3 days. Go on, read it.
My darling girls, this will be my last letter to you. It has been very hard for me to admit to this to myself, let alone to you. But I am dying. I know, of course, that none of this is in my control, but if there were one thing in my life I would change, it would be to have more time with you. It is very hard.
Sophia,
You read it.
we'll take turns, all right? It is very hard at times to put on a brave face. I've begun to accept the unthinkable, that I will not be blessed with the sight of you as adults, that our relationship will forever be frozen in time. We ought to have had so much more time to laugh and grow together and talk, and even to argue. All of these are precious moments that together make a family, and I am so sad and angry that we are to have no more of them. I can tell that you will be amazing women, and this gives me some comfort. From the moment your father brought you girls home, you have given us nothing but joy and love. I regret that in return I will leave you with such sadness. Unfortunately, I must also charge you with a difficult task. Many times you have heard my recollections of the night your father brought you into our home. However, there is more to the story than I have told you.
Eva hands the letter to Sophia.
In early 1980, after trying to have a child for 10 years, your father and I were thrilled when we finally conceived. But I suffered a miscarriage in my 5th month, and this drove me into a deep depression. Your father was at a loss as to how to console me. I didn't know she'd been pregnant. Did you?
Go on.
6 months went by. The due date of my lost baby had come and gone. That only hurt more, as I couldn't help but imagine what the baby would be doing, how it would look. It was Christmas night and stifling hot. I woke around midnight. Victor stood in the doorway, holding a tiny bundle, trailed by the most adorable and dirty toddler I had ever seen. At first, I wasn't even sure, Eva, if you were a boy or a girl. We all stared at each other silently until the baby began to cry, and that shocked us all into speech. I want to eat, you said on my bedside table. Por favor, you added. Victor, who are these children? I asked. Why, Mathilde, these are our daughters, he replied. Yet somehow, even before he said that, I knew it was true. And so I never asked another question. I regret that now. Oh, Eva.
Over time, I have come to believe that your adoptions may not have been entirely legal. Of course, I may be completely mistaken. Although I have never addressed this issue with your father, I am urging you to do just that. Ask my brother Raul as well if you wish. You, Eva, and Sophia have your own futures to make, and you need to know the full details of your past, whatever that may be. And only your father can give you that gift. I have entrusted Reina to keep these books for you until you come of age. This letter, of which she has no knowledge, is my final gift to you both. When you read it, I hope the pain of losing me has faded enough to allow happier memories to take its place. With all my love, Mama.
Eva carefully folds the letter and slides it back into the envelope.
Ava,
See,
we can't let Papa know about it. If he finds out Mama doubted him too, it'll crush him.
but we've got to ask. Now more than ever, don't you see, Sophia? Her concerns must have been very strong if she had to admit them, even in a letter nobody would read until after she was gone.
That's true. Oh, what is taking Papa so long?
Hopefully he'll be back in time for dinner.
Do you think we should talk to him about this when he gets back? Or ask Tio Raul first?
Why don't we ask Reina what she thinks?
But why Reina? I don't understand. What has she got to do with any of this? Mama said Reina didn't know about the letter.
See, but there are some things Mama didn't know. And maybe Reina knows more than Mama realized. Reina, could you come out now?
I'll be right there.
Bueno.
Ava, let's just keep this to ourselves. Promise me.
Are you serious? I can't do that.
Well, just until we figure out what we should do.
I know what we should do. I'm your sister. I'm trying to help you. Trust me.
You know I do.
Then you're going to be fine, Sophia. One way or another, we'll get through this together.
I hope you're right.
Reina enters.
Are you feeling better now? Did you like your gifts?
Oh, Reina, they were perfect.
They were.
I'm so glad to hear that. Do you mind if I ask what they were? I've been curious for so long.
She gave us each a book that we used to read with her. And there was a letter inside of Sophia's. Mama wrote us a letter.
She did?
Ava, that was supposed to be between us.
I never agreed to that.
She wanted to say goodbye and she couldn't make herself do it to our faces.
And she also wanted to ask Papa about our past. But what do you make of that, Reina?
Why are you telling her? She's got nothing to do with this.
She's got everything to do with this. She's our abuela.
Ava, you did agree not to tell her that.
What are you talking about? Mama and Papa both lost their parents before we were even born.
I'm sorry, abuela. I didn't mean to. It slipped out. But everybody wants me to hide things, and I can't take anymore. Reina's daughter, Carlotta, was our mother, our real mother.
I don't believe you. It's not possible.
It's true, querida.
I've only just found out myself last night.
So that's what you were talking about for so long? I thought something was up.
We weren't trying to leave you out, Sophia, truly.
And you believe her?
Of course I do.
But it makes no sense. If you're our abuela, why didn't you say anything sooner? Papa says we were abandoned. If nobody in your family wanted us when I was born, what gives you the right to change your mind later?
Of course we wanted you. We didn't know if you were even alive. Sophia, I know this is hard for you to understand. It isn't easy for me either.
I don't give a damn if it's easy for you. What do you mean you didn't know we were alive?
Sophia, let her talk.
Oh, right. But I don't see what possible excuse there could be for abandoning us.
They didn't need an excuse. Our parents didn't want to leave us. They were kidnapped and then they were killed.
What are you talking about? That's a terrible thing to say. Why would you tell her something like that?
Because it's the truth, Sophia. Your mother was taken just before you were born.
But I don't understand. How was that possible? And you think we're your granddaughters?
There's no doubt in my mind. I searched for you for 8 years.
I don't believe any of this. Why would you keep this to yourself all this time? If you're so sure, why didn't you just come to Mama and Papa and introduce yourself? Why do you work for us?
As far as I knew, the Cordobas had no idea you were stolen children. If I raced over demanding to see you, I could have lost you all again, forever. I didn't want to disrupt your lives.
Then why are you here?
You needed someone to look after you. And I wanted to be with you. I found a way to do that.
How? By taking advantage of our mother's illness?
Well, I suppose in a way that was true at first. When I learned about you girls, I needed to see you, to find out if you could be my grandchildren. While I was trying to decide how to do that, I heard that the doctor was looking for someone to work as a companion to his wife, who was quite ill. So I came here inquiring about the position. When they offered it to me, I knew I couldn't refuse the chance to be with you. But I grew to care about both of your parents as well. And after your mother died, I stayed on to manage the household.
How did you find us to begin with?
3 women came to my synagogue. They were all mothers of Desparacitos, Las Madres de la Plaza de Mayo. They march in protest on the plaza every Thursday.
Those old women with the white headscarves? I've seen them. Papas are locas.
Sophia, you need to apologize.
It's nothing I haven't heard. Such a loss can make anyone a bit loco.
All the same.
Please, Eva, let me finish. Through the Madres, I learned about another group, the Abuelas, who have not only lost children, but grandchildren as well. They spend their time and effort searching for these little ones. I got involved with the group at La Plata, and I often came here to Buenos Aires as well. I went through each new file that came in. I visited more houses than I can count, hoping to get a glimpse of little ones who could have been Carlotta's children. One day I came across your file. You were about the right ages. The abuela spoke with the neighbors who had known the Cordobas for years and learned that you two had just appeared one day. We were able to get your adoption records from the court, but your birth parents were listed as no name, a common tactic.
So you came to see us?
Sorry. So many leads had turned up false, and I nearly didn't follow this one. But then I saw an advertisement in the newspaper, and it seemed like a sign. I got on the bus to come here, but right up until I found myself standing on the doorstep, I was sure I would just turn around and go home. But I had to try. When your parents brought you girls in to meet me, I saw Sophia first. You were the image of Carlotta as a child. I thought I had seen a ghost. And then you walked in, Ava, and I recognized you right away.
After 10 years?
You have the sort of features that don't change much. You saw it yourself. You recognized yourself at the age of 2 in the picture.
What picture? What are you talking about?
It's a photograph of me with our parents. Raina showed it to me last night.
I want to see it.
Of course, I have it right here.
She hands the photo to Sophia, who looks from Ava to the picture and back.
This doesn't seem real somehow.
I understand, but it is real. It's very real.
Why didn't you tell us?
Even if I had wanted to tell you, it's not the sort of thing one tells a child.
I'm not a child any longer.
No, you're not.
Then why did you tell Eva first?
I never planned to tell either of you. Ava figured it out on her own.
But what would ever make you think of such a thing? How did you know?
I didn't know. When we were talking last night, I just started to wonder. First, it was something Raina said about her family, then the lullaby she was humming. I thought I remembered someone singing it to me. Then I saw the photo. The baby looked just like me. Somehow it all started to fit together. As incredible as it sounded, I had to ask.
And once you asked me outright, I couldn't look you in the eye and deny it. I never thought it would come up, but I told myself long ago that if it ever did, I would tell you the truth.
This is strange.
See, it is. I don't have to pretend any longer. After all these years.
And Papa has no idea?
Not to my knowledge, but maybe it's time he knew as well.
The telephone rings. Once, twice, 3 times. Sophia answers it.
Feliz Navidad. It's Tio Raul.
I want to talk to him when you're done.
Is something wrong? You sound upset. See, we're worried about Papa, too. He was? No, I'm sorry, he hasn't come home yet. Really? Hold on. Papa was with Tio Raul, but he left there an hour ago. Ava, I'm worried.
It's all right, Sophia. He probably just stopped to get a newspaper or something.
For an hour? He's not supposed to leave the house at all. What if something happened to him?
Sophia, calm down. Put the phone on speaker, all right? Tio Raul, it's Ava now.
Feliz Navidad, Evelita.
You too. What's going on? Sophia said that Papa came to see you today?
See, he was here. He was very upset when he left. I must speak with him as soon as he gets home. It's very important, Eva.
I understand.
Very good. Then we'll talk later.
No, wait, just a moment. Tio Raul, I need to ask you something.
If it's about your father's case, Eva, I'm not at liberty to discuss it.
Ava, don't.
It's not about that.
Go on, then.
What do you remember about the time when Sophia and I were adopted?
Why would you ask such a thing?
This morning, Reina gave Sophia and me special gifts. Mama left them just for us before she died.
She did. Matilde left gifts with Reina?
See, they were books we read together, and in Sophia's book was a letter from Mama. She wrote to us. In it, she said we should ask you about our adoptions.
What?
She wanted us to find out about our background. She thought you might know something.
I see. I had no idea she'd done any of this. Have you discussed this with your father?
No, but we will. He left before Reina gave them to us. So do you know anything?
I think we'd better talk about this at another time.
It's a simple question, isn't it? Do you know anything or don't you?
I'm sorry, Ava. I must go. Have Victor call me.
He hangs up.
That was strange.
Maybe Mama was wrong. Maybe he doesn't know anything.
I don't think so. In fact, I'm more convinced than ever that there's something odd going on. It seems as if Tio Raul is hiding something too.
Why are you so suspicious of everyone?
Perhaps your father and Senor Raul were just trying to protect you and your mother.
Maybe once we tell him what we know, he won't feel the need to keep hiding things from us.
I don't think we should say anything. Not right now, anyway. After all, we're not even sure if any of this is true.
Sophia, shame on you.
But how do we know, Ava? Maybe she's just after something.
Listen to yourself. This is Reina you're talking about. What could she possibly want from us?
I don't know. I don't understand why any of this is happening. People are attacking our house. None of my friends are talking to me. The party is ruined. Papa's all upset. And now you're telling me this? I don't know what to do, Ava. I just want things back to the way they were.
I know, but we can't control what's going on in our country or how people will choose to treat us. All we can do is handle problems as they come up. But I really do believe Papa will feel better once this is all out in the open. I think we all will.
Well, I don't agree. And I don't want to upset him any more than he already is.
Reina, what do you think we should do?
Ever since I came to this house, I've had to hide who I am. I can't keep on doing that. And I shouldn't have to. And neither should you. If you want to call me Abuela, you should be able to.
I do, Abuela. I want to be part of your family too. And light that candle for my mother and say that prayer.
The Kaddish.
That's right, the Kaddish. Wait a minute. I just realized if our parents were Jewish, doesn't that mean we're really Jewish too?
You could say so, see.
What? No.
But what does that mean? Shouldn't we do something about it? We were baptized.
It's something to think about. Of course, the Cordobas had no way to know your background, and they raised you in the Catholic faith, so it doesn't really mean anything to you.
That's the truest thing you've said all day. None of this means anything to me.
This is our natural family we're talking about, Sophia. Don't you realize what that means?
We don't have any proof, do we? Just what she's telling us. How do we even know this is true?
I can't explain it. I just know.
That's not good enough.
Why is my word so much harder to believe than your father's?
Because he never lied to us. How do we know this isn't a lie too? There's no way to prove that you're really our abuela.
But there is. We can take a blood test. There's a lab downtown that collects samples for abuelas. I left mine years ago. Carlotta's too. I had kept her hairbrush. We can all go there and get tested together. That will prove we're related.
Just leave me out of this. You come out with this story about your daughter after all this time. Why should I care about someone I've never met?
Stop acting like a spoiled child.
Shut up, Ava.
Victor stumbles in. He is disheveled, frantic, and in a terrible temper.
I'm back.
Papa, you're home.
Sophia flings herself at Victor. Awkwardly, he embraces her tightly.
Where have you been all this time? We were getting worried.
Reina hands Victor the envelope.
Doctor, somebody left this on our doorstep. He wrote something on the door and then he ran away.
Did he? I didn't see anything.
Ava called the police, but they refused to come, so I cleaned it off. Should I have left it for you to see?
Of course not. It's another lunatic making his contribution to my hellish existence. When you're ready to turn yourself in, your lawyer will be waiting. He knows what to do.
Are you all right?
No, Sophia, I'm not. I've been all over town. I called on everyone I know. Nobody will lift a finger to help me, nor even give me a kind word. I've become an outcast overnight. My friends and colleagues have all turned their backs. The bastardos have washed their hands of me.
What are you talking about, Papa? Is there anything we can do?
No, forgive me. I'm just a bit upset.
Come, Papa, sit with me.
Victor does sit. She snuggles up and puts her arms around him.
Sophia, my angel, you are the only one who understands me. You do, don't you?
See, Papa, of course.
What a lucky man I've been to have you as my daughter.
I wish I knew a way to make you feel better.
You are, Sophia. Your presence alone is a great comfort to me.
Truly, Papa?
Of course, querida.
I'm glad. Because I need to talk to you about something. It's terrible, Papa, truly.
What is it? What now? Was anyone else here while I was gone? Have you been hurt again?
No, Papa, nothing like that.
Speak for yourself. Papa, I have been hurt. My quince is ruined.
What did you say?
It's true, Papa. Everyone is turning their backs on me. All my best friends.
I can't believe my ears. What of it, Sophia? All you think of is pleasure. I come in here to my last place of refuge, and you're upset about a party? I see now I've spoiled you. This is my life we're talking about. Don't you understand?
What about my life? Why doesn't anyone care about that? You treat me like a baby, and meanwhile, Ava and Reina are saying all sorts of confusing things.
Sophia, don't. Not now.
Why not, Ava? You said you wanted it all out in the open.
This isn't the time.
Don't speak in riddles. What are you saying?
Never mind.
Reina says she's our abuela. Ava believes her, and they're trying to get me to believe it too.
That's because she is, and she's been right here in this house looking after us for 6 years.
It's a lie or mistake. It must be. Papa, tell them.
What is she talking about?
It's true, Doctor. Eva and Sophia's mother was my daughter, Carlotta. She was a desaparecido.
Victor rises, but Sophia remains seated. At some point in the following scene, she unconsciously picks up the doll and remains holding it, gradually clutching it more and more tightly as the tension in the room increases.
That woman, she was your daughter?
You knew her? Do you remember her?
What the hell makes you so sure they're your grandchildren? What gave you the right to come into our home?
I had every right. I needed to know if my grandchildren were safe and happy.
And so you worked yourself into the family.
You're wrong. I came here to be with the children, but you all became my family.
Betrayal at every turn. My children, my servants. Is there nobody I can trust?
What do you mean, Papa? Of course you can trust us. We've been terribly worried for you. Everyone has. Ever since Tio Raul phoned and told us you'd left him long ago,
Called here? He told you about our private meeting?
He only said you'd been with him, Papa. He didn't say why.
My own wife's brother turning against me now.
Papa, nobody is against you.
I've tried so hard, so very hard. My God, isn't that enough? Is anything ever enough?
Tried to do what, Papa?
To protect you. Keep you safe and happy. I am nothing if not a man of honor. I deserve justice. But there is no justice, no honor left in this world.
What do you remember about my daughter? Did you speak with her?
You dare to question me? You have betrayed my trust and been well paid into the bargain.
I only want to hear what you know, the truth.
You who have done nothing but lie since the moment you set foot in this house. Why would I care what you want?
Reina is only asking questions we all want answered, even Mama.
Your mother would never say a word against me. Yet you seem bound to defy me at every turn.
I don't mean to upset you, Papa, but Mama did want us to ask you about our past. She thought you might be able to help us find out what happened to our family. She left us a letter about it.
A letter?
See, Papa.
Eva takes it from Sophia's book and hands it to him. He opens it carefully and reads quickly, muttering softly. When he finishes, he tears it up and throws it on the floor. Sophia gives a little cry and dives to the floor to pick up the pieces.
Papa!
So even she didn't trust me, my own beloved wife. I would have moved heaven and earth to please her, or cure her, or even now to bring her back.
She didn't know what she was saying, Papa. She was very sick when she wrote that.
Nobody doubts that you loved her and that you love us. We just want to know what happened.
What makes you think I know any more than you? After all, you seem pretty well informed.
No, Doctor. I have some facts. I've made some guesses, but only you can tell us what you know. This is my Carlotta with her husband and Ava. You see, look at her. Look into her eyes.
She takes the photo from her pocket and holds it out to him. He stares at it for a long beat before pushing Reina's hand away and turning around violently.
Put that away.
Did she know that Sophia lived? Did she ever nurse her? Did she die giving birth or afterward?
Leave me alone. You don't care what I have to say. You won't believe me. Nobody will.
I'll believe you, Papa. Just answer their questions, then they'll leave you in peace.
You can't promise that. Nobody can. She will never give me a moment's peace.
I will, Papa, I swear.
I don't mean you.
Then who are you talking about?
Never mind. If not for me, you wouldn't be here. I saved your goddamn lives, you hear me?
You saved our lives? What do you mean?
I saved you from death or worse. I took you home.
You were there?
Why? Where were we?
In the camp.
The camp?
The ESMA, the Naval Mechanics School here in Buenos Aires. It was used as a detainment camp.
Raul bursts in through the front door.
Oh, Victor, thank God. You're home.
What are you doing here?
Why were we in the camp?
All the pregnant women were brought to the ESMA.
I need to talk with you now.
What more is there to say? We've been over everything.
You treated the pregnant women.
I delivered the babies.
Listen to me, Victor. I must talk to you privately.
I can't right now.
When I was about to leave my office, I saw this on the floor. Someone slipped it under the door.
And the babies you delivered, what happened to them?
Pa,
Victor, you've got to look at this.
Not now!
It says you've killed someone.
What?
Murder. A young girl. You were directly responsible during a torture session. It names her and describes the situation in detail.
this is a vicious lie. Papa could never do such a thing. Tell him, Papa.
They're just allegations at the moment, Victor. But make no mistake, you will face trial. It's only a matter of time.
You come in here accusing me. I will never forgive you for bringing my family into this.
Who brought who into this? How can I defend you if you keep things from me? You've got to tell me what happened. All of it. No secrets. Do you understand?
No secrets. You have no idea what you're asking.
I'm asking, did you kill anyone? Were you involved in any torture?
It all sounds so cut and dry, doesn't it? Kill, torture. The average person has no idea what any of that even means.
I'm not just anyone, Victor. I'm family. I'm your lawyer. I've been defending you for my entire career.
Papa, can't you answer the question?
I delivered babies. I never hurt anyone.
And that's all.
Would you swear to that?
Some days I was sent to the interrogation rooms.
You mean the torture rooms?
At first, I was brought in only to care for the women. Later, it could be anyone, and I was sent in almost every day. My job was to judge how much the prisoner could take, or when a break was needed. Some of the men seemed to enjoy their jobs. A prisoner would be gasping for breath or screaming on the table, and they'd be passing around cigarettes and cups of mate, even glasses of Fernet, as if they were at a party.
Sometimes they forced family members to watch each other being tortured, husbands and wives, parents and children.
Many of the prisoners were so young. I saw this one girl brought in for questioning again and again for weeks. She couldn't have been more than 16. She was strong. What she endured would have killed some grown men, but she couldn't take much more.
And so?
And so, one day during a session, the men left for a break. The prisoner was unconscious. As I was checking her vital signs, she suddenly opened her eyes and grabbed my arm. "Por favor," she said. "Doctor." That was all. And she closed her eyes again. Suddenly I felt very sad. I couldn't stand to see her suffer any longer. She was so young. I did as she asked. One simple injection, and she found peace. I ended her misery.
Such mercy.
Did anyone see you do it? Who else was in the room?
As far as I knew, the two of us were alone. But later I was called in to see my comandante.
What did he say?
He seemed to know all about it, so I must have been observed. He told me it had better not happen again, but then he winked and clapped me on the back and said, "Or perhaps I should commend you for saving us the trouble. After all, bullets don't grow on trees."
Dios mío.
She had suffered so much. It was the only way.
The only way.
Of course. What else could you have done? This, I can understand.
Tio Raul, how can you say that?
It was a merciful act. I did the girl a favor.
A favor? You said yourself she was younger than I am. To end someone's life at 16 is a favor?
I know what I heard.
See, Papa, maybe you didn't understand her. Maybe you got it wrong. What if she was asking you to help her, not end her misery?
Don't tell me what she was asking. I did my best. You have no idea what it was like.
Then tell me, what became of the pregnant women after you treated them?
Some went into premature labor. Some ended up miscarrying.
I wonder why. And the babies, the ones who lived?
They all went to good homes.
Like stray dogs.
What a waste. A tragic waste.
Victor, that's enough.
Were you with my daughter when she gave birth?
See.
But then you delivered me?
That's right.
I never knew that.
Victor, stop talking now.
Doctor, how did Carlotta die?
I can't answer that.
Did she ever hold me?
We need to know, Papa.
It was Christmas night, 1980. I was called to a delivery. We often did cesareans to speed things up, but she was almost ready to start pushing by the time I got there.
So you didn't operate?
Too late. I was angry they hadn't called me sooner. Pushing could take hours. The prisoner...
Her name was Carlotta.
She was chained to the table. She wanted to walk around. I told them to free her legs. She wanted her hands free too, but the guards refused.
Her hands were chained while she was giving birth?
She was a dangerous subversive.
She was a student teacher.
Where was I?
Huddled in the corner. She talked to you sometimes. I think nobody else even noticed you.
Carlotta must have been in such pain. Was she frightened?
She seemed quite calm. Of course she was in pain, but she only pushed for about half an hour.
So different from your birth. She was in labor for nearly 2 days.
They chained her back to the bed. I insisted the guards had to free her hands. She nursed the baby while I delivered the placenta.
So it all went well. But how did she die? Were you still there?
My job was done. I was going home.
But then you took her children. Why? Dr. Cordoba, why did you take them?
My comandante was outside. He handed me a syringe and sent me back into the room.
What was in it?
I didn't ask. I was told to give her an injection.
Victor, what did they want you to give her?
Dr. Cordoba, did she know she was going to die?
I don't know.
Did she say anything, do anything?
She called you over, Eva, and held you close. She told you, this is your sister. She put the baby into your arms. She told you to hold her and not to let go. The baby was crying.
I was crying.
I was holding Sophia when you.
She had an IV. I emptied the syringe into it.
Did you know what it was?
She closed her eyes. She just went to sleep. She didn't suffer.
Is that what you told yourself so you could sleep at night? Do you really believe that?
What did I do? Did I know something was wrong?
Just held the baby. You wouldn't let go. You kept saying, Mama, wake up.
Oh, what are you saying?
Victor, you did this?
They were going to kill her anyway.
But they didn't kill her. You did.
I had no choice.
There's always a choice.
Nobody forced you to do this, Victor.
All right, I chose to do it. Don't you see, it was my only chance to make something good come out of the whole affair.
How? What good could possibly come from this?
You and Sophia, of course. I couldn't help her, but I could save your lives and give you a home.
They had a home.
You have a good life because of me. You were lucky.
Lucky? Do you hear yourself? Oh my God, a good life.
That's right.
You took my life, and Sophia's too. It's been lies and secrets, and you've spent the past 15 years denying what you've done. Why, Papa? Why not just leave us to die in the camp? What gave you the right to take our lives like that?
I gave you life. If not for me, you could both be dead too.
I wish I were. Oh God, I wish I were.
Eva, don't say that.
Raul puts a comforting arm around Eva. She doesn't seem to notice.
I put an end to her pain. I made it easy for her.
Easy? None of it was easy. I know what she went through. I was there. Have you felt electric shocks go through your body? Has anyone ever tried to drown you in human waste? Did you give birth in chains? You say she didn't suffer. You have no idea what suffering means.
Dios mío.
You were there too? In the camp?
When they took you in, Carlotta, they took me too. I was there for 36 days. I only saw you twice in that time, but I kept track of you as well as I could. I know they tortured Carlotta. I could only imagine what they did to you. Worse than even than physical pain was the mind games they played. We never knew what was next. A walk in the fresh air, a transfer, that is death, or a session in the torture room. I couldn't stop thinking about you two. I was still so naive, so stupid. I actually thought I could get us all out before.
But you escaped?
One day they said we were going on a ride. They put a hood over my head and shoved me down on the floor in the back of the car. We drove around for, it must have been 5 hours. I was sure they'd bury me in the mountains somewhere, and no one would ever know what happened.
Oh my God.
Most of the time I heard traffic noises and crowds of people talking. And then finally the car stopped and they jerked my hood off. They pushed me out of the car and drove away, laughing. I couldn't see right away. It was so bright. I couldn't believe it when I realized where I was, 1/2 mile from my own home. Daniel was overjoyed when I stumbled in the door. All I could think about was what I had left behind. It was all a game to you, wasn't it?
It was never a game to me. I had nothing to do with all of that. Yes, I was an officer in the Navy, but I was there as a doctor, nothing else. Nobody, least of all me, ever expected things to get out of hand the way they did.
But if you were just a doctor, why did you join the Navy in the first place?
After med school, I did my residency at the Naval Hospital, and then I stayed on staff. I had never considered a military life, but many of my colleagues were career officers, good men, patriots. Things were going to hell in this country. When Perón came back in '73, that was bad enough, but when he died, his widow, Isabel, became president. That stupid bitch was driving my country into the ground. I reached my breaking point. I had excellent surgical training and I'd kept my skills sharp. I believed I could be of use. So I enlisted. Thank God for the junta. Isabel was sent into exile. She was lucky they spared her. And the military took charge. Things started to settle down.
Only because they started to kidnap and kill people. How can you be part of such a thing?
I am a doctor. My job is to heal people, to make them feel better. That is what I did. That's all I did. If not for me, they would have suffered much more. And maybe some of them truly deserved to suffer. They were determined to destroy our way of life, and they had to be stopped. All I wanted to do was to help my country, to defend it. I swear to you, I never... My God, you can't think I wanted to kill anyone.
I don't know what to think anymore. I trusted you, Papa. I believed you.
We all did.
And the girls, how did you end up taking them?
I felt responsible.
You were. You are.
I kept you together, didn't I? I put myself in danger for you. I argued with an officer who wanted to take Sophia for himself.
Did you make any effort to have them sent back to their family?
That was never going to happen. There was a waiting list for officers who wanted to get a baby.
We aren't property. We're people. Don't you realize what you've done? And you forged our papers so we could be adopted as fast as possible. You stole our identity.
Eva, I swear to you, I had no idea you were disappeared children.
How is that possible?
It's God's truth. When Victor brought you and Sophia home, he told us you'd been abandoned. I filed your adoption papers, see, but I had no reason to doubt him. You understand. Taking you in as his own, it was an act of love for you two and for Matilde. You were helpless children, alone in the world, and she wanted a family more than anything. Everyone was better off, or so it seemed.
So you were fooled too.
That's right.
You killed our mother, and then you took us? What would Mama think if she knew?
God, Matilda.
He turns to the portrait in an appeal.
I swear, I only wanted to help you. When we lost the baby, you seemed to give up on everything, on life itself. I didn't know what to do, how to fix it. And then when I saw those two little girls, and I knew what to do. It worked better than I could have dared to hope. From the minute you laid eyes on them, you were a different woman. Not just recovering, but happier than I'd seen you in years. I never expected to see that look of joy in your eyes again. Oh, Matilda, you must know that I didn't mean to cause anyone pain. Everything I did, good and bad, I did for you. I beg you, you must understand and forgive.
Papa, don't.
But who could forgive me? Who could understand such a man? No matter what my reasons were, you could never have lived with me if you knew what I'd done. You were so gentle, so sincere and loving. You brought out what was best in everyone. I'll never get that back. I can see it in your eyes. I'm dead to you. Stop looking!
He frantically tears the portrait off the wall.
Papa!
A stunned pause. Then Victor collapses.
What have I done? My God, what have I done?
Victor, I do believe Matilde could have come to understand and perhaps even forgive what you've done. But she would never have condoned this. Eva and Sophia were never yours to keep. If my sister had known the girls were stolen, I'm sure she would have done everything in her power to find their biological family.
Oh, Dios mío. Dios mío, I am so frightened.
Raul lifts the portrait and props it up as Reina goes to the candle.
The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside
the still waters.
the still waters.
He
Restoreth my soul.
leadeth me in the paths of righteousness
Righteousness
for his name's sake.
For his name's sake.
Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I fear no evil. For thou art with me, thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me.
Still clutching her doll, Sophia walks to Victor and takes his hand.
Thou
Thou
preparest a
preparest
table
the table
before me,
before me in the
the presence
presence
my
of my
enemy. Thou
Thou
anointest
anointest my head with oil, my cup runneth
runneth
over.
over.
Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord
shall
forever.
dwell in the house of the Lord forever.
Make the call.
Victor, you're turning yourself in?
I have no choice.
As your lawyer, I must advise against this. It will be harder to defend you once this is done.
But there is no defense for what I've done. I realize that now.
You're sure you want to do this? You haven't even been charged yet. And what about the girls?
I'm so sorry. So very, very sorry.
Reina looks him in the eye. He meets her gaze briefly, then lowers his head.
Will you look after them for me?
I always have. Ava and Sophia will be well cared for.
Gracias, Senora. Make the call.
Sophia puts the doll into Ava's arms and walks to Reina.
Abuela, I believe you.
As Raul picks up the phone, Sophia walks to Victor and embraces him. Ava clutches the doll tightly.
Mama, I remember. I remember.
Reina holds her tightly. She sobs on Reina's shoulder.
Now, I understand.
Lights fade. Curtain.